Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Secular Asylum. My name is Carly Blankenship, and I am here today with Karen Palmer. Karen, can we know a little bit about you?
What would you like to know? Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, of
Just so
course.
super excited. We're going to have a fun conversation here.
Yes, I'm so excited, nervous.
No need to be nervous. Oh, well, what would you like to know? I mean,
what do you do? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite thing to do on your off days? And what do you occupy most of your time with?
shoot. Well, all kinds of things. I mean, I live in Florida now, close to the beach. I love the beach. Love, love, love
Okay.
the beach. Love the energies of it. I get to sit on my back porch. I have a pond back there. Well, it's not my pond, but and there's all kinds of birds that come and the gators and turtles. It's like my little piece of heaven right here.
Lively.
Yes. And as far as energy work, do all kinds of stuff. I guess we'll get into that though, sooner or later. I do work with Healing Hands Holistic. I see myself as in a support role
Mhm.
for the classes, but also and for the students. Um, what I really love about that is watching everybody come into their own. The empowerment to me, it's all about empowerment.
Mhm.
It's like every single person has the thing that they do, and just to kind of to watch them bloom and blossom is just it's that's very exciting. It is.
Mhm.
And then the work I do on my own, um, I don't know what I cannot do because it just seems like whatever is needed, that skill set or ability comes up.
Mhm.
When I go into a session with someone, or even the live circles that we do with Healing Hands Holistic, I never know what I'm going to do until we're actually on.
Mhm.
Unless the person, if I'm in a private session, they have a guide that or somebody wants to, as a messenger, to speak through. Then sometimes they'll pop in the day of a particular session. But yeah, it's like, okay, what are we going to do today? And they're like, I guess we'll find out, won't we?
No, I get that exact same thing. So I have to drive into town to go, have my clients and stuff. And I'll go up to Healing Hands because that's also where I have my office. And it's like my guides are preparing me. They're giving me the feelings that my client is feeling, and we're getting ready, and it's like, oh, today's gonna be a heavy one. And or like, oh, today's gonna be so lighthearted. And sometimes it's just like a bag of random things that people have put into a bag, and I'm like, what's today? So I
Yeah,
totally understand.
it's all good.
um,
It's all fun.
yeah. So what's your favorite color? You seem very colorful.
Oh, yes, any color. It depends on what it is, but anything bright, colorful. My
Okay.
house, my decorations, it just all of it, any of
Mhm.
it. I know I'll go outside and sit outside, on my porch, and when I'm looking at the pond and the birds and everything, and the ducks, and I just marvel about how many different shades and hues of greens there are. It's
Mhm.
like,
I know. I'm all.
yeah, I don't even that. There's probably about 10 different shades of green in it.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm a green fan for sure. But also I'm earthy. I'm a very earthy person. So one of my things I want to do is I want to go to o um or Ojo de Rojo or something like that. It's in Santa Fe. I want to go there because they have mud baths, and I have this primal need to be up to my neck in dirt, to just even I would even consider going under for like, 2 minutes or something, because I have like this need for that silence. And it's just like, I want it. I want to feel the dirt and then be done with it.
But that's awesome.
Yeah, I've never had one. I feel like I need one.
One with the earth.
Yes, I love it. Um, so here in Secular Asylum, we are gaining perspective. I love to find out about people's passions. I love to dive deeper, and the way that I'm doing that this season is going through and using the allegory of the cave. If you're unfamiliar, I will have a link somewhere on your screen. But I want to know about my guests' journeys. So, if you don't know about the allegory of the cave is basically a collective of people who have been kept underground and like the entirety of their lives. They have never seen the sun, they've never seen the outside of the earth, they've never seen other animals, stuff like that. The only thing they've ever seen is the shadows on the wall in front of them that they are chained to face, with shadows being cast by the guards behind the wall where they are kept prisoner. One of them one day escapes and goes outside and is absolutely blinded and astonished by the things that he's seeing, because it's, well, unlike anything he's ever seen. All of the colors and hues and, you know, the sun, the sky, the grass, bugs, all. I wonder if they've seen bugs in there. Besides the point. But, you know, there's animals that they have never even considered. So this person goes back down and is like absolutely disoriented into like in this darkness. And whenever he goes to his family and is like, we have to go, like, you need to get out of here, this is like this is not okay. But he's not really making any sense because of that disorientation. And also the people that he, you know, calls his family is like flabbergasted because they've never heard anything of what he's talking about. It makes no sense. They've never seen it. There's no way that it could be real. And be like, nobody go with Karen. She sounds nuts. Don't. Like, nobody else is allowed to go. And so today I want to know, starting off, Karen, what is your cave? And if you have multiple, we can touch base.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that I did watch the little clip that you had linked to one of your other podcasts, and it's really amazing and awesome. It explains it really well.
The animation, yes.
Yes. First of all, I am the sun.
Love that.
All of us are the sun. We just don't even realize it. But, you know, the other thing too, it's like a long, long time ago, I've been doing this work since I was a child. And yeah, people look at you like you're nuts. That's fine. Just move on. Just say no, move on. You know, people don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to, they want to make their own decisions about things. And sure, you could talk yourself to your blue in the face, but it doesn't do any good. Found that out very early too. Just gotta stay in your own lane. Every thought, every word, every action exposes a new sun. So basically there's bazillions, infinite number of suns each and every day. And it's like, you know, every thought, every impulse, every inspiration or thought, you know, and you decide to follow it through and there's a bright sun. And then you just kind of like swim along like Dory. Just keep swimming, And it's like, oh, look, sun, you know, and follow it. I've always followed the sun, stayed in it. And for the most part, people just have fallen away or been removed. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. It doesn't mean that they're wrong or it isn't anything like that. It's just when you're in this area with the new sun, then there's more people there for you to be with and for you to explore the new sun with until look, another sun. There we go.
I can totally see that. I am also having a visual of sunrises, sunsets. There's always a new one.
every single one of them is different,
Hmm.
so
Oh,
it's,
I can only imagine the sunrises and stuff that you get to see.
a long time ago too, when I was doing a lot, I've read a lot of self-help books, and because I don't know, I don't want to say I wanted a better life for myself, but I wanted to be more comfortable with myself
Hmm.
and make decisions for myself that, there's fear there because, all that cave stuff, it's a comfort zone, right?
Hmm.
And finally, it was one day, it was like, well, shoot, I can't do anything about that fear, but I sure can do something about regret. I don't want to live my life with regret.
Hmm.
So there was the surfers, because I lived on Central Coast, California. It was all about no fear. That was the
Hmm.
big motto thing back then. And it was like, well, I just changed that sticker to no regrets and
Hmm.
never looked back, never looked
Nice.
back. And it's been, revolving doors of people and situations and places. And, that's all just part of it. It's
Hmm.
like, I want as much out of this life as I can get. And
So
I'm
it
not saying
sounds,
to take. What I'm saying is I want to explore all of it because there is just so much of it.
yeah. No, I get that. In a different way. My husband is the travel adventure one. But for you it sounds very like whenever you came out of this finding that the motto of no regrets, it was like almost inspired, like from what I'm seeing visually, it's almost like you've been inspired to live almost like nomadically, and that sounds uh very free.
It is. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's nice to have a place to call
Call
home.
home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I did. I traveled for quite a bit, but home. That is the other thing that you develop is home is wherever you are
Mm-hmm.
and wherever your heart is. You create your home there until it's time to click sun.
Yeah. It's like I'm also catching a visualization of chasing butterflies, being like, "Oh, look, there it goes."
I guess click sun.
Uh,
But yeah, it's been a very fun and fulfilling life. My spiritual
So,
journey, like I said, I've been doing that since I was a child. And, it's like things come out of your mouth and they're like, you can't talk about stuff like
no, yeah, we have conversations here about not talking too much about other people's bodies. Because sometimes it hurts people's feelings. My daughter is very open in that way. I'm very supportive in the spiritual stuff, of course. The office that I'm in right now, she has seen a man in this room before, which have taken care of, but this room is very like active. Very the spiritual focal point of the house, which I have a crystal grid up now. So much better. But within your childhood and experiencing the, oh, you can't say that, is it like would you consider that to be one of the aspects of the cave for you? Um like was anybody ever telling you to not be that way?
that. Growing up in a household, it was the old with the new. And we were raised Catholic, except for my dad. He was agnostic and also with metaphysics. And when I say agnostic, I use that term loosely because he always believed there was a higher power. He just didn't know what it was. But, so there was a lot of exploration and conversation along the spiritual and metaphysicals. I mean, we saw spirits, heard things, saw things. I remember one time I had played softball and I had my thumb in the mitt when the ball came in. And so, yeah, it hurt a lot. And so I was asked to look and see what I saw. And I saw a chip along, separated from the bone in my thumb right here.
Uh-huh.
And well, on the knuckle, near the knuckle. And so I said that. And they said, okay, we're going to go get x-rays. Got x-rays, and the x-ray was exactly what I had seen. I'm like, see, I told you. And they were like, stuff like that.
Okay, so sorry. I was looking at this. Also, that's amazing because my daughter also displays stuff like that. She has gotten I think 5 out of 5 pregnancy predictions on like who is having what. So I'm really excited. I'm sure you've heard on the podcast before, but I didn't really have like I had my gifts as at a young age, but like I'm barely getting to where I can tap into those memories. So I'm really excited to like live vicariously through her, to be very aware of like the things that are going on around her and everything. So I wanted to ask you something about you being the sun. So I have gotten my aura picture taken, and I have always been one to question like my morality and like everything. Like I have like a healthy dose of questioning like my decisions and all that stuff. Well, I got my aura photo taken and it was orange, completely orange with a bright white light in the middle. And so whenever you say that you are the sun, I have that visual. I have that like internal like brightness um going into that. And like I just wanted to know like how old you were whenever you gained that mentality.
Of being the sun,
Mm-hmm.
well, a lot of times I'd hear that I always felt that when I walked into the room, the energy changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell energies of rooms. And it was heard quite a bit that it was like a breath of fresh air. But it didn't go any further than that, but um, as far as being the sun, it was more on reflection from watching your other podcast and the thing because, I wanted to come on here and sound like I knew something, right? So, and it was like, oh, well, yeah, if you look back, yeah, anytime you have inspired somebody or done something or gone, followed the sun, so to speak, done the Dory thing,
Mm-hmm.
you are the sun for somebody else. And what does the sun do? The sun shines. The sun shines. That's all the
Helps you
sun. Well, I
grow.
mean, the sun does a lot of things, but it
Yeah.
doesn't sit there and, poke you and say, hey, it just shines. And then people are drawn to you or people are repelled by you. That's just nature. There's different frequencies. People are at different places in their lives. You just never know who you're inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the little, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like from people randomly, like you really helped me here, or, you know what I mean? Um, so I wanted to go on to exploring what has been your favorite part about exploring your gifts and life,
All of it. Oh my gosh, all of it. All
even
of
the
it is
bad
just
stuff
amazing. I can't even,
or hard stuff. I shouldn't say bad. Sorry.
all of it is just super amazing. I mean, there's just like so many experiences, so many stories, so many. Um, yeah. And, it's like, oh, new gift. Oh, do a lot of Dory. But, with healing hands, like I said, about the empowerment, about empowering others, about seeing everybody blossom. That's super fun. About so many, I like hearing about people's life stories too, or how they came into their gifts or what they can do. For a lot of times I was that person because other people have other people said this before. I think it was Lita that they want to say, well, you're not crazy. And tell me more because I want to know. What do you see? What do you hear? What is it? Tell me all about what it is. Because, basically every single person, they want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be accepted. They want to be loved. And what a beautiful gift to say, oh my God, you're not crazy. And they're like, oh my God, you're the first person who's ever told me that. And just to feel the relief rolling off of their shoulders. And sometimes if that's the only interaction you have, I mean, wow, super
Right.
powerful. And the cheerleader, like in the classes, oh my God, you do this, look at what you did today. And oh, wow. And they're like, well, I wanted to do this. And so everybody else is doing that. And I'm like, so what? You did this other amazing thing. It was like, sometimes we do get a little tunnel vision and short sighted. I used to teach stained glass classes in my home when I lived in Amarillo. It was a lot of fun. It was really interesting to open up your home to a bunch of strangers, but it all worked out as it always does. And I had several choices of different class times, and people would pick their class times, and it was just amazing to me that the group of people that ended up together was like what each other needed. Even though we were all doing stained glass, well, I mean, I was instructing. Um, it was more about for them. It was a very healing space for them. Yeah, they were doing stained glass and making amazing projects, and but it was more what I noticed or felt was the healing aspect of it, of being there and with the people they ended up with. But where I was going with this, I mean, that was an amazing part too. Where I was going with this is, okay, so I had a bunch, you could choose whatever you want. If you wanted just the 4 weeks, but I'd let them do whatever they want. But I said, if you want to do it just in 4 weeks, then I suggest these. Pick your own colors, whatever. Everybody's got their own Crayola box. So it was really fun. Some people had a specific thing in mind they wanted to do that was fun. I'd say, okay, this is going to take you X amount of time. Just be prepared for that. The other thing too with that was you go through the different stages in a learning process. And this goes for any learning process. And what happens is you get going, you're all excited, you're starting to get the hang of it. And then you reach a point in your project and you're like, what I call the ugly phase. Oh my God, am I even going to like it? Oh my God, well, maybe I should have chosen different colors. Oh my God, is it going to turn out? Oh geez, do I even know what I'm doing? I mean, all of that stuff. And it's like, yeah. Every class, every project, they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, over here helping. It's beautiful. I love it because it is. And it's going to be. And you are going to love it. And I don't say it doesn't really matter. It's all the process of it. But they all turned out so super amazing. Beginning students doing advanced projects. It's kind of like that at Healing Hands too. You guys don't know this. Those beginning classes are so not beginner classes. Those are advanced techniques.
Oh my gosh. So the very first time, the very first class that I went to with Justin was the Empath series. And we sat down and we were projecting the emotions. We had our little cards. And I was paired up with this girl, and she was projecting to me first, and I was receiving. And I was just like, man, I just feel fear. Like, I'm scared. And she snatched the card off the table and she said, shut up. And I was like, what? And it was fear. And I was like, and like, I don't know. I don't want to sidetrack too hard on that because I love what like the example of the stained glass, and I love the process of having to trust like this thing, making this. I was like, no, it's not coming out how I want and blah blah blah, but I was like, you know what? It just has to get done. because everything you make looks cool and unique and original, and it's an expression of who you are. And I just had to like jazz myself up about it. And like, I love trusting the process because then it comes out pretty good,
Yeah. And then
you
sometimes you
know?
do have to step away from it for a minute. Go
Hmm.
look at other people's projects. Go talk about. I had one student and she was having a bad day. Although I didn't realize it at the time. She was working on a project. And she's like, oh, she went and grabbed one of my dogs. And she's, oh, I just need some puppy time. And she sat there for like 15 minutes, just
Hmm.
holding the dog. And then she was fine. And then she went back to her project.
Hmm.
You know, it's like, yeah, you do what you got to do.
Yeah. No, I have so many projects that I haven't finished, and I know one day I'm going to, because you never know. Like, I look at some of the things that I have and I'm like, I know I'm gonna finish that one day. But, that's one day.
Well, it's everybody's
But
thing. But, if you look at it, that's part of the creative process. You put it
mhm,
down for a while, and then when it's time, then you pick it up again.
mhm.
That's all it is. Just look at it
Yeah.
that. Which brings me to another thing, it's like so many times we get sucked into our experiences and all the emotions, the wide gamut of experiences. And we are so much more than our experiences. We are the ones who define our experiences. They do not define us,
Mhm.
and so something like that, the creative process, it's like, oh my gosh, it's still sitting there. If you
It's
go
just
into that,
looking at me.
I mean, that's beating yourself up for no reason. Creative process is just
Mhm.
that, the creative process. Got your mojo going, you're in the groove, you got the creativity going, and you got 10 projects going. And then it fizzles a little bit. That's okay. It gives you time to ramp up for round 2, round 3, round 4, or to start new things or have things in different stages of progress, I guess.
Mhm.
I did that a lot with the stained glass. I always had 10 different projects and they were all in different stages of progress. But, it's just when you allow for that and be easy on yourself and say, yeah, that is going to get done, when it's time. And it'll let me know when it's time to work on it. Because they do, they speak to you. Each of your projects speaks to you. I know that behind you
Mhm.
speaks to you all the time.
Mhm. It encourages me a lot. It's like holding my head up when I'm like, I also I have a ton of stained glass stuff. Like, I have everything that I need to do for stained glass. And me and Lita were talking about making something for our door in our office, and I was like, I have so much stained glass stuff. We could just do that, put some bells on it and call it a day. And it would be like a good introductory thing for me to be able to like play with all of that stuff that, I just picked up at a garage sale or something one day, and I was like, yeah, I'll do this one day.
Oh, yeah.
And most of my pieces have like crystals and stuff, so they'll be like, pss, pss, pss. And I'll be sitting like in the living room, and I'm like, what do you want? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I remember my first stained glass class. It was in Denver. And I walked in and I had no idea what I wanted to do and what this thing was about, but I had always had an interest in it. And the instructor is kind of rough and he's like, all right, let me tell you something about glass. First thing you need to know about glass, he's looking at all of us. He goes, it breaks. Like, oh my gosh, it's just like,
No way.
I can do this.
um yeah, and I've been talking about doing an intuitive crafting class because I meet so many people and they're like, I don't have an artistic bone in my body and blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't believe that. Like, I really don't. Like, I think that everybody has their own ability to be artistic, whether it is making physical things or creating an energy or putting together their outfit or like making jewelry or some sort of medium. It does not have to be like physical It could even be metaphysical. You could be an artist at, doing Reiki. And but anyway, I want to do the intuitive crafting because I want people to explore. I want them to heal themselves and let things out and be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I want them to be shocked by themselves internally. So,
Well, in taking that concept, everybody has a piece of creative genius in them. Every single body. And you talk about the arts or metaphysics, it extends out to look at inventions, look at
mhm.
science, look at all the products that are out there, that were inspired, every
Sorry.
single thing.
Somebody
It's
keeps
just friggin'
pushing me.
amazing. Number crunchers. I mean, people who, work
That's
with
an art.
numbers,
That is a very precise kind of art, in my
you know,
opinion. Yeah.
construction, home constructions,
hmm
patios, gardens, all of it.
Interior design. Oh, my
Yes.
favorite.
Because I used to hear that too. And actually, the ones who caught on the best for the stained glass was those that were mechanically minded. Those were
Oh, that makes
mechanically minded
sense.
because it's like cutting out your puzzle pieces and putting them together is basically what it is.
hmm
The ones that were artists had a more challenging time, the painters, because they wanted something that looked, realistic and
hmm
perfect. It's like, you're not going to get that with glass. You have to be a little bit more forgiving with it
Yeah.
and
It's
allow.
it reminds me of construction paper, almost how South Park, that show, it's almost like how they do the construction paper method where they cut the things out and piece them together like that. It's more tedious, I'm assuming, but
Well,
you
actually, it
know,
puts you in a mindless space. It
yeah.
does. It's like when I'm cutting glass or working on a project, that's a mindless, well, I say it mindless, thoughtless space. You have to have some awareness so you don't cut yourself or burn yourself. And I always used to tell him, I says, what more fun is this? Something where you can cut things and burn things and break things. Oh my gosh, how healing is that? And
hmm
how much fun. And it's okay. And like you're going to come out with an amazing thing. But it was a mindless space where, like, if had something I was working in my head, it would just flow through and just work itself out. You know, it was like a mindless, meditative state.
Yeah. I get that totally. Like my fingers in moss, when I'm making my pieces, I get to transmogrify, my friends will vent to me or, my clients, they'll have the stuff that they need to get rid of. And sometimes if we share that connection, I'll stuff a little bit away so that, I can keep my basket of weaving moist and I just go through and turn that into pieces. It is one of my favorite forms of art to be able to turn the not so, you know, shiny, sparkly stuff into something that is visual and calming or satisfying or funny, or I like to invoke emotion with my pieces. Um, and so but I get the mindless part of it because it's not, I don't even have to think about it. It's just my brain can see things that aren't there and make it into something that is there. And
Yeah.
it's very gratifying.
And then with my stained glass, it was like I like the deeper, richer colors. That, yeah, you look at it and it's okay, but you get light behind it, and then it's like, oh,
No, I have a piece over here, and this quartz has rainbows for weeks. Not days, weeks. I'm so happy with putting a light under it because I'm so astonished by the color. I don't know. I'll send you a video of it later.
yeah. I know crystals are amazing. I love
I
them.
know.
My house is crystal encrusted. That's what I call it. And I just was here for a visit, and he wanted,
Hmm.
he was doing a session, and he asked if I had any clear quartz. And I'm like, do I have any clear quartz? I got a gillion zillion pieces. He's like, oh my gosh, you weren't kidding. I'm like, yeah, well, it's some of them are resting, some of them are rescues, some of them want to work, some of them are for other people I haven't met yet.
Oh,
So yeah, they're all just hanging out. We're just happy little campers here.
yeah. No, and that's another thing, making pieces. I'm like, I have no idea who these people that I'm making this thing is going to. And like, it's like doing commission pieces, but it's like I'm commissioning it so that they can find it.
Yeah. And sometimes, there's that inspiration. And then there's also, like, I've been playing with essences, making foot soaks and sprays,
Nice.
like y'all do there
Yeah.
at Healing Hands, and some of my own recipes. But the ones that come, it's like, first, like, why am I doing that one first? But there's people that they're for that I didn't realize that I'm making these for. And since they have to sit a while, then yeah, and then actually a few of them have come up that it's like, oh, I guess I made this for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I love seeing the little like sparkles in their eye and they're like just immediately enchanted with the little piece of whatever that I've made.
There's a little store in Cresttown, Colorado. There's a store like where you turn off to go into Cresttown. And there's a sign on the door. If you do not find something to purchase here, please do not be offended. All of our items that we have here for sale are just waiting for their owners to come pick them up.
Yep. Yep. So, I have two questions. Somebody keeps telling me to ask you this. Or, there's a thought somewhere. It could be my own thoughts. I just work here. I
I'm like,
observe and I'm like,
oh,
okay.
here it comes.
Um, so I actually have two questions. I'm gonna start off with the more obscure one that I almost got pushed for.
Okay.
Um, how do you see the structure of the universe? Um, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna ask
Oh my
that.
gosh, how much time do you need? How much time do we have? How do I see the structure of the universe? I see it
Mhm.
as it's very simple in its complexity.
Mhm.
There are many, 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 many different layers to it.
Mhm.
Um, the entire universe with all of its different planes and dimensions and everything is fascinating. So, other thing I've been doing since I was young is we learned how to remote view
Mhm.
and astral project and astral travel. Um, that's some of the work that I do. The work is seems like lately it's been more about stabilizing energies. There's a lot that's been bubbling up to the surface, and there's a lot of energy coming in, and it's balancing and stabilizing energies so that people can find a path, find the people they need, find the support systems. So the ones that have chosen to come into this new era, so to speak, you know, um, everything is useful and purposeful. There's so many frequencies. And every one of them is valid. Every single person, every single being is valid. And the nice part about it is every one of them loves me. Every one of them loves you. We have our experiences in life with people and we think, oh my God, they must hate me. Or why are they treating me that way? Well, they probably love you the most. Well, on a spiritual level, they probably don't realize it. That's okay. But um, that's really what it is. Some of the work I do is like as a mediator, between or between two different factions. I've done work with the intergalactic on behalf of the intergalactic
Hmm.
and the Galactic Federation, which my dad, who's passed on, he's a part of. Just super cool. So that's I get to sidetrack with that one.
Okay.
Okay, so when he died, when he passed over, transitioned, and
Hmm.
there was somebody at the foot of his bed right before that kind of looked like Darth Vader. It was really odd. And I thought, okay, this is kind of odd. I know my dad was kind of different, but I didn't know what kind of being he was. And what it was during his transition, they just wanted to, this particular being was in charge of securing his journey because I guess he was valuable, which we are all valuable.
Hmm.
What I didn't know was, and then after he passed and transitioned, I could see him like sitting like there's rest stop areas and they have the picnic tables, and it was kind of that kind of visual in a grassy area, and he'd be having a conversation deep, always focused. He was always 1,000% in whatever he was working on
Hmm.
with Buddha and Yeshua and Gandhi and just like all these like ascended masters. It was really cool. And then one day it was, I noticed that I didn't notice him or I couldn't detect him or something. And then he showed up and it was like he had transformed. It was the first person I'd seen after their death from knowing them as a human that I had seen such a dramatic transformation.
Hmm.
And that's when it was revealed that he was part of the Federation
Hmm.
and he was on the council. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Set up a liaison for me and got to work. Okay, good. Yeah. He set me out with those psychic healers too. That's really cool too. But anyway, so that there's that work going on, or there's been other works because there's other physicalities that we do not detect that are going on at the same time. It's all parallel, all going on. And
Hmm.
there's different beings, there's different humans, different, it's here on the earth plane and also out in the ethers in different galaxies and different universes. Okay, we only have to concern ourselves with this one universe. So I had
Hmm.
asked that. Do we need to concern ourselves with these other universes? They're like, no, this is our focus for right now. Isn't that
Hmm.
enough?
No kidding.
Yeah. But I've had beings come to me for assistance with relocation. Like for some reason, their environment has become hostile for many different reasons. And they ask if I can find a place for them so that they can thrive, and or there's been different, and these are, to me, they're human, but it was a community of like women. And then there was um, a tribe of men. The men wanted to create sort of kind of like an intergalactic rest stop,
Hmm.
so to speak. And but they wanted to do it that it was on the land that these women, this community of women held. They weren't present in that area, so it was part of the negotiations as a mediator for them to come together and form a fellowship and a cooperative, mutual, whatever. And now they are like super thriving. They have, you know, um, gift shops and they have restaurants, general stores, and it's a meeting place. They've also come to because we did have to relocate him once because there was some, I call them mischief makers, going on, and they were trying to undermine what was going on and take over an operation, but they were coming across as if they wanted to form another venture together. And so we actually had to relocate this entire two communities to another different plane. And until it was safe, and then we could like have them exposed again so that they can continue their trade business and everything. So part of that, what brought up was, is they wanted to be able to defend themselves as well. So, okay, so people talk about their guides. Well, I talk about non-physical teams because I have teams for whatever I'm doing. There's a team for. So I have a huge protection team. They're warriors of all kinds of different types of beings, and they all work together in different. They have different specialties. So we set it up with team warriors for training for all of them, and then at the end of it, this happened down the beach. Okay, this is all what one of those things that's real, not real, not real, real. And they had a competition between the men and women. So we had Neptune, of course, King Neptune he had to be one of the judges because, this is his domain. But there was like a competition contest. I mean, everybody's a winner, but yeah. And it was just so they could brought in other beings so that they could display all the skills that they had learned in these weeks of training with the warriors so they could be confident. And now they're part of our team. So if we ever run into trouble, if we're doing some work, through Healing Hands, I mean, they're on standby whenever we need them. Highly skilled warriors that are at the
I
heart.
I love that because my spirit, from what Justin has told me, and I do feel this, my spirit is a warrior spirit. And like every time I get to go to work, I'm just like happy to be a part of the battalion, like I love being able to be a warrior in this aspect to help. The way that I see it is take out the divide that like the existing powers that be that are in the physical plane. I love to take out the divide that they put so deeply into ourselves. I'm just like, let me just that doesn't go there.
Yeah. But and there's a lot of beings out there, they have their own agenda. Well, everybody has their own agenda. But, it's like sometimes it's easy to jump to the conclusion of, oh, I'm under attack. Well, yeah, you're under attack, but it's not really you. My garage door recently, it's right before the hurricanes, there was a group of beings, they were using the energy of the hurricanes um, for something that was promoting their own thriving, their very existence. So what they had done is they had dumped a bunch of their lower energy beings on my property. Well, I mean, it wasn't because of me. That was the location of it. Because where I am, it's like in the middle, it seems like to be in the middle of all these intersections of energies. And before, as the hurricane was gaining force out in the Gulf, and then next thing I know, it's like they tried to get into my house and get to me. The cables on my garage door snapped, both springs snapped, and there was a indentation like somebody had taken a sledgehammer to it. And I was like, okay. My first thing is, oh my God, I was trying to get into my house. And then when I, got more information about it, it was like, okay, well, you were also at that right before then. It was like I was working through a bunch of stuff. So I was like, throwing out all this energy, I was transmorgifying it. I was transmuting it. But I mean, it was like going out there. So, and combined with the hurricane, so it attracted attention. So they're like, oh my goodness, well, we'll just stay here and take part of it. So they were trying to get to my energy, to the energy I was like creating. not because it was me or I was specifically under attack, and that they were just single-minded purpose, survival of their species, survival of their species, and that was their single-minded agenda. So it was like, hello, you guys just like brought my garage door. Now I got to replace it. How about a little bit of compensation? And they're like, well, why? We're just doing what we came here to do. It's like they didn't see any, it's
Yeah.
like, well, how can you fault them for that? It's like, oh, okay. Well, and then I was concerned about all these little critters that were there because, it was like, well, what are they going to eat? They didn't really provide for them. So it gave them a little energy and so that they could come and assisted with the transition back to where they came from because they didn't have the energy to get back there. Okay, not together, altruistic. I wanted them off my property so I could get out of my house and drive
Hmm.
around. Because when all these things are out there, it's like my guys are like, they're not going anywhere.
I
Tall
know they
sister.
hide the keys. Mine always
Right.
hide my keys or my wallet or something. And I'm just like, thank you for protecting me from whatever it is you're protecting me from.
Yeah. So it was like, yeah, let's clear this up. So I'm like, geez, not even a thank you or anything. But, it didn't, in their minds, it didn't deem a thank you
Hmm.
because it was just, they were single minded. That was their agenda.
Survival.
It was part of it. And the fact that I did that, it was like that contributed to this and just part of it. And, it's like when you get different perspectives like that, I mean, it changes, it shifts everything. It's like, oh, if you can look at it from another person's point of view or another being's point of view, a different aspect of it, you just see that it's like everybody's living. Everybody has their place. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something that they're doing.
Hmm.
But yeah, when you talk about universal stuff, it's like there's even things I'm sure that I'm not even aware I'm doing that I'm doing, because it's all of it here on the earth plane and all the way out there too. But
Hmm.
you're laughing.
I know, no, it's because they're like, okay, now tell her about your thing. Um, I I'm picking up not gray alien, but similar to but larger. Um, kind of just being like, okay, now it's your turn. But so the way that I have very minusculely put together is I got a visual of the flower of life one day, and then I got the 3D visual, and then it would like burst into like infinite everything. And it's like we move through that physically. And that's the physical aspect. But with the other sacred geometry, the way that it's layered is, like you said, so simplistic, but so intricate, you know? And so like there's layers on layers of it, and it's very intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, you think about physicality. I mean, miraculous and magic. Okay, we're going to take the chair you're sitting on.
Mhm.
All right. Energy and motion, yet it maintains its form and it
Without
maintains
touching
its
atoms to
color.
each other.
What?
Without touching atoms, like the atoms don't touch
Yeah,
each
I know
other.
everything's moving. And I can sit there and I'll stare at, a door or something and I can see all the motion
Hmm.
that's going on inside that door, all that energy. It's all the atoms and molecules. It is creating that door and it holds its shape. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's like so amazing.
Yeah, I like the aspect of the residual energy, especially when I'm talking with other people who, like, maybe I'm cleansing houses or something like that. And, you go through and so many things have passed through these petals of this flower of life that hold the atoms and molecules and stuff like in there. And it's so tiny but so huge. And like they all just kind of get left behind. And like whenever like you have a clairaudient person, for example, and they keep hearing the door slam, it's because somebody like forever ago or whatever slammed a door one time and they think that it's like, haunting. But really, it's just like their own gifts picking up on things as they sit to repeat and stuff like that. So
Oh, yeah, I read
it's,
somewhere, I heard something, or I don't know, a thought occurred to me that a sound, it, once a sound is made, it's a sound, it never dies. Well, so to speak, I guess, it's like out there somewhere. It may change form,
Mhm.
and that's sometimes what we do. We change forms of things,
Yeah.
but, it always exists. It's just, I know, it's like, there's just so much to it.
So, I have one more question in regards to the cave. So whenever you're returning to the cave, and the way that I'm seeing this really is somebody who is telling you that the things that you're saying are like outlandish. What do you say in those situations? How do you handle that for our little mediums that are watching?
Oh, I
How do you handle that? I'll
I'm
ask
like,
that
okay,
instead.
I really don't. Um, I don't justify myself. I'm like, okay, uh, they want me to say something else and I don't know what it is. Because, it's like, I just change the conversation. Because, it's like, okay, they're not ready to hear it for whatever reason, or they don't want to hear it, or whatever. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's okay. Everything's okay. It's just like somebody saying, no, it's okay. You just, all right, you accept that and you move on, do something else, change
Hmm.
direction. Oh, Dory, there's another sun.
Yeah, that's
Because it's,
kind of the answer that I expected.
yeah, because you really can't, there's no sense in arguing. There's no sense in defending. There's no sense in justifying because they've already just closed you off. They've let you know where they are on that, and maybe it's another conversation, or maybe you just like gave them a startle and they need a minute to
Process.
process it and think about it
Hmm.
and come back to you on it. But you don't. If you're inspired to say something, you say it. I mean, you and Kelsey, and everybody else were like, oh my gosh, did I really just say that or whatever? I've been threatened by guys that if you don't say it exactly the way I tell you to say it, I will come through you and say it myself. I'm like,
Hmm.
that's okay. I got this. I can do this. And you can't attach to what the message is either, or say, well, I hope that means something to you, or um, I don't know what this means because it's not for you. It's for the other people.
Hmm. No,
It,
I had a lady who I was cleaning at this place where I live. It's like a business, and I'm in there, and the lady who's working, there's this man that came through, and he was like kind of baldish, older, very nice caramel colored skin, like bigger dude, but like not like built, but just a big guy. And he was showing me to tell her the Dolphins, the Dolphins, the Dolphins, the Dolphins. I was like, you mean like the football team? I was like, all right, yeah, if it comes up, we'll talk about it. And it ended up coming up, and I was like telling her, and she's like, I have no idea. And so I just left that with her because it's gonna come up, and like I know it's gonna come up. So I'm just waiting. I don't think she works there anymore, but you
yeah,
know.
and some of these beings, or the departed ones, they don't have any concept of time. They really
Hmm.
don't,
Yeah,
because there is no time and
it's
space.
different. Yeah, it's everything is happening all at once.
Right.
on that part of reality.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
But yeah, and that's an interesting subject too when you start talking to them.
Yeah. Yeah, because then, you know, I try not to get into the future stuff because my little meat brain is like, what do you mean? When is that gonna happen? How? Why? How does that happen from here to now? And it just like stresses her out.
Yeah. And for me, it's like I don't like doing predictive messages
Hmm.
because
It's always
things
so
change.
subject to
We just
change.
talked about
Yeah.
the sun changes all the time.
Hmm.
In this present moment, this very moment, the current energies in this very moment, which I'm speaking to you, this is what the reality looks like. But it's really only one possibility because you could step away and make a decision about something completely different. You know, like if we're
Hmm.
talking about a relationship and you make a decision about moving somewhere or something, that shifts the entire picture and it opens up a whole bunch of more possibilities. Yeah, we can look down each other's timelines all we want, but if something comes up, and you're like, oh, that kind of takes you down a trajectory down a different way.
Hey, not sorry. I was just gonna tell you, like, yeah, like this guy, for example, this entity here, because I don't know the gender, whatever, but like they're like looking this way and like having a whole other conversation that has nothing to do with me, and then like came at me with some like meter to my eyeball, and it like almost poked me. And I'm just like, why can you not?
Are they the ones that hang out there or are they ones with you?
No, I don't know. It's always somebody different in here. It's
Oh,
always somebody different. And sometimes it's things that I am a not frightened, but it is like out of a horror film, like crawling out of the floor. Like I told Justin, I'm like, I swear there's like a trap door or something, which it's not as bad now because of the crystal grid and like the work that I have to continuously put into this room. But it's always something different. And it's like sometimes like I don't want to be in here and I'll tell my husband and I'm like, I don't want to be in there right now because X, Y, and Z is going on. He's like, well, we can both go in there and he'll come in here with me and like makes me feel better.
yeah, when there's something like that going on, all of them, you have that house for a reason. You have that
Oh
room for a
no.
reason. It
Hmm.
is full of everything it has for some reason that, that there's something there from each of them that you can learn and you can gain from them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like he's trying to learn something from me with this meter that looks it almost looks like an EMF thing, but with like a little pin at the front. The EMF thing is like this way, but it's long ways. Like usually they go like this and the thing's like this. But this one is like this and it's just like some meter like metering me.
And there's a lot of curiosity right now, but I mean, there's a lot of focus on the human plane from a lot of different places.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beings watching, a lot of beings
Yeah.
watching, a lot of beings participating. Where's this
No.
going to go? It's like the collective holding the breath. Where's this going to go?
I know. I was like, man, the season finale of America sucks. Like that's been my like go-to joke because it's almost like everything going on is just like it's like a bad reality show. I'm just like, man. But
Well,
like where from where I'm standing, like the things around me and the people around me, like I feel like are glorious and like amazing and inspiring. And my mindset around it is like there are like these billionaires that are like playing, not billion, like trillionaires, like the top two families that own everything in the entire world. They're playing a giant game of Risk with all of our lives everywhere, and then we're hurtling through space. I'm like, the priorities are so weird when it comes to like the greed and like the hoarding of money and like the earthly desires, but also like everybody has their part, you know? So I can't do anything about any of that. So I'm over here like, you know, sowing seeds with my daughter and trying to work through some of my own trauma and helping my clients work through their trauma and trying to like hold it together when it comes to being able to work through that stuff for myself because everybody else is super easy. But I think it's harder for me to navigate internally than it is externally, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to do the actual, like the harder work instead of being distracted from like the external aspects. I do catch myself consume. Like I'm scrolling on Marketplace, I'm scrolling on like, you know, Sheen and like, oh, I could use this and I could do this with this. And I'm like, but also I'm very happy with everything in my life and exactly how it is. I'm grateful right now. And I have to take that break whenever I realize that I'm doing the consume thing. So, uh, anyway, I don't know how we got here.
It needed to. Well, and you talk about that, oh, it's so hard. It's just the hardest, hard. What is making it hard?
My resistance. It's like my own, like my physical resistance, and not wanting to, because I have me,
Well, then that's not
like,
hard. It's easy. You already know what it is.
right, yeah.
So that's not hard. That's
Well,
easy.
I guess like it's the emotions then and making time for those emotions. Because when I feel my emotions in the way that I need to when I have avoided it for like this long, I have to make time for myself to rest. Like I do the work and then I have to rest for almost the entire day after. And it's allowed. I can. And I have to remind myself that because you know, one of my caves personally is going through and having to do things to be valuable. And that's like something that I have seen growing up. Um, and I have to remind myself, like, even if I don't make anything that day, or even if I don't make money that day, or if I don't have a client that day, like me being here is enough. Like me being you know, this being,
Yeah.
like, and learning the lessons that I need to learn and, you know, understanding that this body needs rest and not just constant go, go, go because this girl gets tired. But then she like runs off of like this fight or flight aspect. And like mentally, I have like my higher consciousness, but then I have like my higher self and like getting everybody to work in tandem is not really challenging, but I do have to focus. It's like I told my eye doctor, I'm aware that things are there, but I have to focus in to really see what it is. And he was like, okay, yeah, let me look a second. And he looks at me and he's like, well, your eyes go like this. I was like, oh. So it's really just getting myself to focus and um kind of zero in on what the work is, you know? So,
Shit, you just said it really easily, really simply. There's nothing hard about that. Really. You know what it is, you know what you need to do, you know what is holding you back from it. You can allow yourself that, okay, yeah, I got resistance. That's all right. This get done. Just like an art project
mhm,
or a creative venture. Yeah, we're gonna set it aside for now, but and there's gonna be a time and I will be let know when that time is.
mhm.
What's the
Yeah.
push? What's the hurry?
Wanting to rip the band-aid off. I think like I have like that mentality sometimes when it comes to
Yeah.
doing
I'm
my
all
like
about
shadow
ripping
work.
off the Band-Aid. I am a rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just do this, get it over with.
hmm Yeah, it is proving to be a little more like I have to rip multiple band-aids off,
Yeah.
which is fine, but sometimes I gotta take a break because like 15 band-aids is a
It's quite a
lot.
bit. Yeah. And you just have to take a break. And yeah, and because you do need to rebalance and recalibrate to the new sun.
Yeah. Yeah, I do catch a lot of new suns. A lot. So, um, I want to know if this is like a very basic question, but also I feel like it's a very loaded question. Have you experienced anything paranormal?
Hmm.
If so, um, I want to know about your favorite one.
Favorite one. Paranormal. Well, I already told you about that. That
The highway
the
and
being that tried to crash through my garage.
hmm
What also happened was that access to my attic was left ajar.
mine's open right now.
And that is inside the house in a room that's not occupied. Okay, so anything paranormal. So I've told you some things.
Mm-hmm.
Paranormal. Paranormal. Um, I live this every day and I'm sitting there going, oh, what do I tell her? Which one do I tell her about? Yeah, I made notes. Do you think I could get to my notes right now?
Yeah. I don't really have much going
No, I
on.
can't get to my notes right now because they're keeping me from. Um, we were in, okay, so I went to Castaneda with some friends. All right, this is a trip before we took with Justin. And we were in a shop. When we walked in the shop, it was like walking in sludge. And there was something so stinky by the door. Oh my God, I wanted him. It was like, you could at least take a breath. And the floor was all, it felt like being on a tilt wheel. It was so, the energy was so like, and I'd already been told to not only shield up, but to double cloak. And then I was also shielded and cloaked by Archangel Michael and a couple others in my security team. So no, I'm just standing there and they're telling me, don't touch anything, don't buy anything, do not engage. And I'm like seeing all this shit in there. And then there's a reader that's standing at the counter. She's got an attachment on her shoulder. And I'm standing there looking around and just trying to stay in my own lane. People are talking, engaging. And then I feel this like huge being next to me, standing right there. And I'm like right here. And then he tries to touch my arm and everything, all the hair raised on my arm. And I'm like, oh, hell no. How dare you? Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're dealing with here? And then Michael's like, calm down. Stop. Just stop. Just. I'm like, he just, he said, just step away around him, away from him. I'm like, okay. Well, he didn't feel like he was intrusive or harmful or meaning, any sort of way. He just felt more curious, which was confirmed that it's like, who is this person in this store, this human, and why is she so cloaked so heavily? So anyway, so I'm wanting to like engage in a conversation because we are in the spiritual capital of the world in a metaphysical shop. And I'm like, and they're like, you know, just don't. Because I'm
Mhm.
wanting to go, yeah, you're wanting to sell your stuff and it's all drippy with tarry goo and your floor is like wonky. And that guy at the door, if you having him security, you might as well give him a breath mint because he stinks. And then this guy over here, who's with him, and you're a reader and you got an attachment on your shoulder, you really ought to do something about that, is what I want to launch into. And they're like, don't.
Mhm.
So I get it from my own team too. When you say about the cave, it's not a cave. They're just like looking at it's not going to be well received. Just don't. It's okay. Just don't worry about it. But, so okay, so that was an extreme one. Another one was my brother and I were in college and we'd gone home for it was spring break or something around Easter time. So even though we weren't going to go to church for mass because we weren't churchgoers at that time in our early 20s, we still, we know Yeshua, Jesus is real. So we went to go visit him. So we went to church and then we were sitting there and as soon as we sat down, it was like the altar, it was like all this light. And Sonu was there and I'm like chattering my head about all this stuff. My brother leans over to me and he says, Jesus says that if you would just shut up for a minute, then you might be able to hear what he has to tell you. I'm like, okay. um, Paranormal. What does that extend to?
Um, let's see. What do y'all suggest?
I mean, there's basic things that, people would call, I mean, I don't know if they're paranormal or not, but just, driving, it doesn't matter what time of day I go. If I decide to go somewhere, of course, that has to be all orchestrated with my team because they got to set everything up, right? This is even grocery stores, okay? Um, Traffic flows. I get right in. The parking lot may be full, but I get my spot. I have my favorite spot. I get my spot or a better one. And even if the parking lot is full, there's like almost nobody in the store. If I'm walking down an aisle, there's like minimum people. I mean, that's pretty paranormal, isn't it?
Yeah. No, honestly, whenever I go get my nails done, and it always happens at this one place. I like going there because like I like the lady who does my nails, but I will see every single person's entire team at that moment with clipboards and like they're all standing around. One of the workers there, she has a little girl that's attached to her um daughter of the mother, so the sister. And so like I'm like seeing all this and she's like the lady did my nails one time and the little girl was just like asking me questions and I'm over here having this whole other conversation while this lady's doing my nails, but everybody will stop, turn and look at me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be viewed. Look away. I just want to get
But
my nails done and zone out. So that's kind of like the little things like I experience on my end that are like not really paranormal because like it doesn't like engage with me in like a physical sense. That's a little more paranormal for me whenever the physical aspect of it kind of kicks in.
like when the
You know what
doors
I
slam and
mean?
all that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was my energy that was like busting light bulbs or blowing them out. I didn't know that for the longest time. Till somebody says, "I'll bet that you go through a whole lot of light bulbs, don't you?" I'm like, "What do you mean? That's your energy." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not faulty electricity or
See,
lights blink or whatever." I just thought that was the house, or
Mhm.
normal things. I didn't realize it was paranormal stuff. That is always normal stuff. Normal's paranormal. That's why it's like when you say
Yeah, that's why I
paranormal, it's
keep
like, what do you mean?
laughing
What do you mean?
every
Everything
time you say
paranormal is normal
paranormal.
anymore, or it has been for a long time. Although one time I don't know what it was. I was at my grandparents' house, and they have a really old cemetery that's kind of close to their house, and we've been there that day. And I don't know if something followed home, but I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't move, and my heart rate, I swear, was like 4 beats a minute. It was less than 20, and I had full awareness. I just couldn't move, and I just sat there and I'm like, "What's going on here?" And it felt like something was trying to slow it down so that they could take over my body.
Mm.
And so I just sat there and I just breathed through it until my heart rate got up, and then I was able to fall asleep again.
Mhm. No, I've had almost sleep paralysis. Anytime that it happens, I'm all, what do you mean? Like, like I get super wily and like I kind of post up with it. I'm just like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like, what?" Um, but one time when I was pregnant, my ex, my kiddo's dad, he had like something on top of him, and I woke up and I kind of couldn't move, but I heard him fussing, like trying to move, and I look over and this like huge thing is like on top of him, which is like an attachment that, he had, and it looked at me, and I was like, no, like, don't look at me. And then it looks at my belly. And I was like, oh, that's where you messed up.
Yeah.
And I had an entire hand come out of my body and just body slam it. And this is pre Justin. This is like pre me knowing how to do anything. Like, I say anything. This isn't like the first time, but I like put a meat grinder out through the door and I was like, you're not messing with my baby. I'm sorry, but no. Like that's where my mama bear comes out and I'm like sorry, you messed up.
Yeah.
um and which I know now that I don't have to be as aggressive in most scenarios. But what do you mean?
I know paranormal, that's normal. That's so normal. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like, what is paranormal anymore? I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, when I was in college, my dead pets used to come visit me, but they were being spies.
Oh, my pet, my beautiful cat Thomas has recently started to come visit me. So I take that as he has passed away. Um, and is unfortunate because he was the best little kitty ever.
Well, they're all the
Um,
best.
I know. We don't deserve them.
We
Um,
so deserve them. Mine, who
um,
wouldn't leave me for anything. Poor things.
yeah. Yeah,
Stubborn.
my cat right now, the one that I sent you pictures of, she is glued to my hip. She will wake up in the morning. And as soon as the doors open, she runs inside and is like, when cats run and they go, "Meh," and every time they hit the floor, it's like, "Meh, meh, meh, meh." She'll come and just like absolutely lose it. And I just put my hand out and I'm still asleep and she's all like trying to get it as aggressive as she can. Um, but anyway, so do you have any questions for me
No, I just so appreciate
as we
what you're doing.
near?
This is awesome and amazing.
Thank
We had fun
you.
tonight. I had fun.
Yes. Yeah, I did too. I love getting to talk to people about the normal paranormal.
I know, yeah.
And it has been very inspiring for me to be able to hear the things that you go through and experience and the work that you're doing even on this plane and working with people to, I say people, you know what I mean?
It being, I know I do work with people too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I am a Reiki master and a master medium. So I mean, it's readings. I can do. I mean, all that. I know I say I could do all that, whatever. But I mean, yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is like the light of my life. Like yes, my family also love them. Like the aspect of getting to do something new every single day, amazing.
Oh yeah.
So, anyway, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode, even though Karen, I would love to have you on next season, whatever that is, or we can get on and just have conversations and share with the people who are struggling with being inspired and are also mediums who are trying to find their way and their next sun. Um, Today we are partnered with Eclectic Healing Crafts. Yay! Thank you so much for myself and Lita for helping this happen today. And we are also sponsored by the Unspeakable Protocol. Um, Next week we're going to be having on Kiona Williams, and I believe the week after that, Miss Ruth Brown. So stay tuned, stay spooky, and thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you again, Carly.
Bye.
Bye.